Succession is a process on how an ecosystem changes over time. There are two types of succession, primary and secondary.
Succession occurs in areas that have never been occupied by an ecological community. It occurs after a huge disturbance and damages everything, so no organic matter is left. It takes a lot of time to recover.
Secondary succession happens when there is some kind of natural or human-made disturbance in an area but the soil still remains. These are inhabited by pioneer organisms. Some examples are forest fires, floods, harvestings, epidemic diseases, etc.
The stages of succession starts out with zero, the inorganic phase, that is described as a bare inorganic abiotic surface that becomes available for colonization by pioneer communities. The soil is little more than mineral particles, nutrient poor, and with an erratic water supply. The first stage would be colonization, in which pioneers colonize the area first and typically are selected species showing small size, short life cycles, rapid growth and production of many offsprings or seeds. Simple oil starts from wind-blown dust and mineral particles. Stage 2 is establishment, in which species diversity increases. Invertebrate species begin to visit and live in the soil, increasing organic material like humus content and water holding capacity. The weathering enriches soil with nutrients. Stage 3 is competition, in which microclimate continues to change as a new species colonize. Larger plants increases cover the provided shelter, enabling case-selected species to become established. Temperature, sun and wind are less extreme, and earlier pioneer R species are unable to compete with K species for space, nutrients or light and are lost from the community. There is a decrease in R species due to a competition because of improved conditions for K species. Stage 4 is stabilization, in which fewer new species colonize as late colonizers become established, shading out early colonizers. There's a complex food web development, and case-selected species are specialists with narrower niches. They are generally larger and less productive, with longer life cycles and delayed reproductions, which attributes to stabilization. The final stage is called the climax community, in which the community is already stable and self-perpetuating. It exists in a steady-state dynamic equilibrium that represents the maximum possible development that a community can reach under the prevailing environmental conditions of temperature, light, and rainfall.
Real-life example of primary succession are the glaciers. In Glacier Bay, Alaska, the glaciers have been melting for the past 100 years, and as the ice began to melt, plants came by. First there were mosses and lichens, flowering plants and mountain avens. Later on, as time passed by, these were replaced by larger plants such as smaller version of the willow and taller shrubs.
A real-life example of secondary succession may be fire. The fire destroys the majority of the vegetation, but some seeds, roots, and some parts of the vegetation remain in and on the soil. That is what will make it regrow and return to the original state. This happened in some parts of Yellowstone Forest in 1988. Native grass was one of the first vegetations to regrow after a few years.
A pioneer community is the first biotic community which develops in bare area. These have small hardy organisms with very short lifespan that reproduce very fast. These are usually our strategy. The area is hostile for the community. It also develops soil. It is soon replaced by the next CRI community. An intermediate community develops after the pioneer community and before the climax community. These have few small-sized organisms that are hardy and few case strategy organisms that are non-hardy. Their growth varies depending on the species. The area is hostile for the community. It develops built-up soil. It is soon replaced by the climax community. A climax community is the first biotic community which develops in bare area. This consists of numerous large and small-sized organisms, which lifespan is generally long. They reproduce slowly. The area is hostile for the community. It grows on built-up soil developed by the intermediate community. Climax community is stable. This is not replaced by any other.
When it comes to how productivity changes over the stages of succession, there is a big difference that can easily be seen. In the initial stages, the gross primary productivity and the net primary productivity is considered lower than in the middle stages and final stages, and there is a low increase in biomass. While in the middle stages, the gross primary productivity is considered high, and there is an increase in photosynthesis and in biomass. In the final stages, the plants are in their maximum size, and the net primary productivity and respiration stabilizes.